So we'll have the March 30th workshop with Kelly Charles Collins, who's the speaker from our 5th anniversary event. And she trains other people to be speakers. So she is going to take what your draft presentation and turn it into something more impactful. This will be the first scholar presentations that we'll be doing since the first one. Okay, so the first one was live. This one's live. All the ones in between have been by Zoom. And so we really want to capture it. We'll have a camera person there recording it, and also be on Zoom, so friends and family can attend. Bring friends and family, but this will be an opportunity for you to really shine. And she's going to show you how to do that in this workshop, and that is virtual March 30th by Zoom. If you're a scholar or you're presenting, make sure that you're there and you have a draft of your presentation ready, right? Something for her to work with. And then, of course, our graduation is April 20th in person in the same location as our um, fundraiser. And that will be a smaller event. It's not going to be all the tables and everything. Now it's a lot of work. It's going to be theater style in one of the bigger conference rooms, so that you'll present, you'll have access to PowerPoint and video slides, all that stuff. So if you want to use that stuff, that's fine. Just send that to me in advance so I can upload it and do all of that. Please invite friends, family, professors, anyone who, you want to support you in that moment. And of course, the board members will be there, our sponsors, etc. And again, I know a couple of people told me they've gotten jobs because of their presentations, because we put it on YouTube and people are going to Google you and they hire you. Future clients are going to Google you, and that's going to be a great thing to have out there on the internet. And then we'll have a reception afterwards in the little bar area. So that's from 10 to 1. We have someone joining us, so we'll let them join. Okay, today we're going to be talking about bar prep. I know the schools, since I started the program, the schools are doing a much better job explaining bar prep. A lot of them now require some kind of bar course before you graduate. So that's great, because schools are finally realizing just handing you all off to some bar prep company is not working. Sherry is shaking her head no. That is not working anymore. But even though they're doing that, in the last few years of the program, students have always gotten some additional insight through this bar prep. Because the other part schools aren't doing a good job of is they don't show you how to personalize the bar prep. So even when you choose amongst them, how do you really personalize it to make it work for you? Because that's what's going to matter. All of them have the same information, by the way. I know they have the pitch. Our speaker today, Sherry, has used to work for another company. And if you look at the materials, they have the black letter law. They all got that. The question is, how do you now take that black letter law and turn it into something you can use so that you can perform on the day of the bar exam? That's the trick, right? Someone in the podcast episode, Zachariah Wade, said that the LSAT, the bar exam, they test your ability to take that test. And so that's what you're trying to figure out. As frustrating as that is, right now it's a barrier to you practicing law. So you have to overcome that barrier. And we have a great speaker today, Sherry Detzler. She's one of our sponsors, and she just has a heart for this and a heart for students. We share a lot in common. She also has a podcast episode, so I encourage you to listen to that, because she really shares her journey as a non-traditional student, much older student, working full time with a child and a caretaker of her sister, and like mastered this stuff, right? And has been in this industry now for 20 years and just doing awesome work, and a great personality. She's presented in my classes before about Helix. I'm excited about Helix. I like Access Lex and their mission and what they do. They're the real deal. And I was so excited when they had basically a nonprofit bar prep. They charge you the cost. They're not making a profit off of it. Why? Because they've done all this research about bar prep and bar passage, and they've broken it down based on age and gender and race and all this stuff. And they're like, based on how these folks perform generally, they should be doing, in law school, they should be doing better on the bar exam. Why aren't they? And so they provided a solution. And the students who have used Helix Bar Prep that I've referred them to, either through the program or they've purchased it their own, have nothing but good things to say about it. And this year we bought 10 MBE packages and provided that for you guys at no cost as a benefit for the program. I saw Rashad join, so he just took the February bar, but he's here. He's want to keep making sure he's ready. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. That's my motto. And maybe he'll provide some insight. We still have a couple available. It's good all the way through July. And so if you did not snatch one of those up and you're thinking after this, well, I think I should, um, let me know. And then we're going to raffle off the other two to make sure they get used because they do expire. Because every year they open it up for an entire year and they want to make sure the stuff that's in there is up to date. Okay. So that program is going to expire after the July bar. And then next year we'll purchase some new packages. And so without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Sherry because I know she does a great job of introducing herself. And I believe she's going to be sharing her screen. Are you ready, Sherry? You're muted.
I
Okay, there you
am. Thank you, Professor Hardwick, and welcome everyone. Happy Saturday. So you're going to have to bear with me technology wise because I'm not at my office. However, I do have a few PowerPoints. And if you could just drop in the chat, do we have everyone taking the Florida bar, the UBE? Because what I've kind of prepared is just an overview of the bar. And then I'm going to talk specifics on how you can make it all work for you. By way of introduction, I am a licensed attorney in the state of Michigan. And while that may seem quite distant to you being in Florida, I have spent my career assisting and coaching people all the way through the bar exam across the country, whether it's the uniform bar exam, the California bar exam, the Florida bar exam, and all the others in between. Because for many, many years, there were not a lot of UBE or uniform bar exam jurisdictions. So it's only been in the past. In fact, Michigan just went to UBE a year ago. So I do not have a uniform bar exam score that I can transfer. So anywhere I go, I have to take the bar exam. So if we, Professor, am I correct that everybody is taking the bar this July or no? No. Okay. All right.
go. There
So,
were some people who were going to, but their schedules have changed. Rashad took the February, and then he's
okay.
waiting for good news. So if he gets good news, he won't be taking July. So
Awesome.
we're
We
praying for
want
that good
good
news.
news. Okay. So I am going to share my screen if I can, and we're going to just go through a few things about the Florida bar exam, about if you can just let me know that you can see it and that's, yeah, and that it's going okay. Everybody see my screen? It just says the Florida bar exam.
Yes.
All good? Okay. All right. As I said, I'm Sherry Detzler. I am passionate about giving you all the tools, tips, tricks, nuances that you need to be successful on the bar exam, whichever jurisdiction you're going to take. So just a brief overview. Let's talk about the components on the Florida bar exam. If you're not aware of that, there is the multi-state bar exam, which is the multiple choice bar exam, which is not Florida specific. And that's the Wednesday of the last Wednesday in July and the last Wednesday in February. So depending on when you take the bar exam. And then in Florida, we have the essays, which comprise of 25% of your score. Those are graded and drafted by the Florida bar examiners. And you will have 3 of those. And the third component on the Florida bar exam are the Florida multiple choice questions. Those comprise of another 25% of your score. And those are very Florida specific, drafted and graded by the Florida bar examiners. So let's break it down just a little bit further, if you don't mind. And that is on the Florida essays, there are 300 possible total points. It is 50% of Part A of your score. So 25% of the total bar exam of the 2 days, but only 50% of the written portion. Again, it's graded by the Florida attorneys. Testing Florida specific law. Whoops, sorry. This mouse is touchy. Okay, the Florida essay subjects, if I can just share, it's Florida constitutional law on the national level, Florida real property, Florida contracts, Florida law, criminal procedure, and criminal law, Florida torts, Florida specific distinctions of family law and ethics, the Florida multiple choice questions can appear in any of these areas, okay? So there are certain subjects that must appear on every Florida multiple choice questions. So we did the Florida essays, and that is Florida criminal procedure, civil procedure, general practice, and judicial administration. Those are always going to be on your Florida multiple choice questions. Okay, the Florida multiple choice is 100 questions. There's 90 of them scored, 10 are unscored, and that's over a 3-hour period. That, just like the MBE, which is the multi-state bar exam that you take on Wednesday, is about 1.8 minutes per question. So again, timing is crucial on the multiple choice portion on the entire bar exam, but specifically on that multiple choice portion. You have to be confident going in that you've studied what's necessary to be studied on the actual Florida portion of the multiple choice exam, as well as done enough practice questions to gain the skills necessary to answer the question and move on. Again, it's that confidence level. Now, day 2 of your bar exam is what I said is the multi-state bar exam. It's the exam that everyone across the country takes, whether they're in a UBE jurisdiction, California, Florida, Alabama, wherever they are, they're going to take that except Louisiana. Louisiana does not administer the multi-state bar exam. That is 200 questions over the majority rule law, not Florida specific, and you have 6 hours in which to complete those questions. 100 questions over a 3-hour period in each the morning and afternoon. Here you have the best answer test. So what does that mean? That means that timing, again, is crucial. You want to answer each and every question because you're not marked in wrong for any incorrect answers. So you want to gain the most correct answers. So don't leave anything unanswered. When you're given the 5-minute warning, when you're taking the MBE, you want to go ahead and bubble in the rest of the answer choices, the rest of the questions. Do not leave anything unanswered. It's 50% of your score on the uniform bar exam as well as the Florida bar exam. And this particular exam is graded by the national conference. Recall that it's administered across the country, and they're the ones that have drafted it and graded. The MBE subjects are civil procedure, con law, contracts, criminal law, and criminal procedure are tested as one, evidence, real property, and torts. You're going to get 25 questions in each of those areas. That equates out to 175 questions. Just like on the Florida bar exam, as well as the MPRE, they have pre-test questions in there. On the MBE, there are going to be 25 pre-test questions that are unscored. Now, what does that mean for you as you're studying and preparing? Nothing, because you're going to have to attack each of these questions as if they're scored. You don't know which ones are unscored. You don't know which ones are the pretest questions. So again, you want to be sure that you're attacking each and every question as if it's scored. Okay, we've touched on the uniform bar exam as I've intermingled these. So let's just touch about the other components that are not on the Florida bar exam. First of all, the uniform bar exam is administered in all of these jurisdictions. And we have a lot of people ask, well, why take the uniform bar exam? And that is because it will open a world of opportunity for you. If you take the uniform bar exam in a UBE state, then that score, as long as you score high enough, which the highest score is 280, as long as you score high enough, then that score is portable. And what does that mean? That means that you don't have to take another bar exam and you could port your score over to another UBE jurisdiction. So for instance, say you want to go to New York and you have to have a 266, I believe, in New York score on the uniform bar exam, but you also want to practice in New Jersey. So you take and you pass the UBE in New York, then you can port that score over to New Jersey and just complete their requirements as it relates to bar licensure, which is, additional information on your character and fitness and whatever additional requirements they might have. And then you could be licensed in 2 jurisdictions. So again, that's the reason for taking a UBE. Florida has not gone UBE, and now that the UBE is going to be going away, I don't anticipate that they will. Okay, so the UBE is made up of the MBE, which is the same Wednesday as Florida, the multi-state bar exam. That's 50%, just like on Florida. But instead of having the Florida essays and the Florida multiple choice, the UBE has the MEE essays, which is the multi-state essay exam that comprises of 6 essays on majority rule, not state specific at all. So it's constitutional law decisions and evidentiary rules that are on the the uniform rules. So that is not state specific at all. The MPT is a practical portion, very much like what you would have completed in your first year subjects of law school in legal writing, doing a memo, perhaps drafting a complaint, things of that nature. It's a way in which to test a candidate's ability to perform lawyerly tasks. Okay. That is the UBE components and how they differ. We talked about the multi-state bar exam. I'm not going to go over that again. Just remember that that is very time intensive. So when you're preparing, you want to prepare in blocks of time. And I'll get to some tips and tricks next. Essay, 6 essays, 30% of your score, unlike the essays in Florida, which were 25%. Remember, and it's 3 essays, 1 hour long. Here you have 6 essays that are 30-minute essays. Okay, same subjects on the MBE as the MEE, but additional subjects. So in addition to the MBE subjects, you can have agency and partnership corps, conflict of laws, family law, secure transactions, or Article 9, wills and decedents estates, and trust and future interest. So they are testing future interest on the essay portion. Doggone, right? So any essay in the MEE area may test more than one subject. Keep that in mind. And again, it's 20, now we're talking about the performance test. This is again testing your lawyerly skills, 20% of your score. The MPT, you will do 2 of them, either in the morning or the afternoon, each jurisdiction decides. And that's where you're given 90 minutes per performance test. You're given what's called a file and a library. It's called a closed universe test because you're not required to bring in any outside knowledge. Whatever you're going to need is going to be, as far as law, statutes, things of that nature, is going to be in the library. And the facts or the memos or depositions, transcripts, whatever is going to be in the file. Then you're going to be given a task memo and told what you need to do with those various components. Here's those scores I talked about needing on the bar exam. 266 is pretty much the average, 270. 280 is, well, actually, I take that back. Alaska brought their UBE score down to 270 in conformity with the highest of anywhere. So again, that's 270 out of 400 possible points on the UBE. It's doable. It's about 70%. And believe me, nobody's ever going to ask you if you got an A on the bar exam. You simply want a passing score. High enough that you can get into whatever jurisdiction your trails may take you in the future. Okay, one other component that's with every bar exam except for Wisconsin and North Carolina, where was I just at? New Jersey. I'm sorry. New Jersey will allow you to have your professional responsibility class count towards your MPRE requirement, and you don't have to submit an MPRE test. But let's just go over that real quick. For those of you that are not familiar, the MPRE is the Multi-State Professional Responsibility Exam. It's required by all those jurisdictions except for Puerto Rico and Wisconsin. And again, New Jersey, you can use your PR class. Remember, it's given 3 times per year, each spring, summer, and fall, and we encourage you to get it out of the way as early as you can in conformity with the bar exam requirements of the state where you're going to take the bar. So for instance, in some states, you can't take the MPRE until it's 2 years before you actually sit for the bar exam. And some states will allow you to take it after the bar exam. But I encourage most students to get it out of the way as soon as possible. And usually that's in right around after completing your second year of studies. Get that out of the way in the most convenient time of the year that's good for you. It is a 2-hour, 60-question exam. Again, we have those pre-test questions of 10 mixed in there. and you have 50 that are scored. The difference with the MPRE in comparison to the actual bar exam is the MPRE is given on a computer. So you're doing a 60 question multiple choice exam on a computer in a computer station, not in a big testing room. And it's going to be at a Pearson VUE testing center. And that's where they're going to be administering many different tests. But again, it is just a little different format. And we have tools and tricks and tips to get you through that as well. Most people ask, what is a passing score requirement? The highest passing score that's required on the MPRE is an 85. And that may seem like a lot because we're used to having a 100-point scale, but on the MPRE, it's a 150-point scale. So an 85 is the median. You just need to get, I tell students, between 65 and 70% correct in your practice tests, and you're going to do just fine. And again, that MPRE passing score will be transferable to whatever jurisdiction you need to go to. Okay, so let's talk about the minimum passing score for the MPRE is 80 in Florida. So you need an 80 or higher on your MPRE score. In the UBE jurisdictions, the highest score is 85. I've given you a slide here that tells you each jurisdiction, wherever you may find yourself going. Oh, I'm sorry. Utah is an 86. I keep saying that 85 is the highest. Utah is an 86. So that's the highest score on the MPRE that is necessary for any UBE jurisdiction. But again, Florida requires an 80. Okay, that's a lot of talking and a lot of just overview. If you have any questions, please drop them in the chat and I'll try to answer them. I'm going to just share with you a little bit about Helix Bar Review. Thank you, Professor Hardrick, because you've given a lot of the overview that yes, all bar review companies get the same information from the National Conference of Bar Examiners and the Florida Bar Examiners of what are testable issues on the actual bar exam and what is the format of the bar exam. But again, your bar review course must meet your needs and your learning style. So when you're researching your bar review course and determining which course is going to best do that, I encourage you to try it before you buy it because you want to make sure that whatever you choose is going to keep you engaged. Because the more you're engaged, you're going to do better on your study time and make the most of your study time. When you're thinking of bar review, it's about 400 hours worth of work. Now that seems very daunting, but an average students go 400 to 600 hours worth of work, but 400 is going to get you exactly what you need as far as 400 productive hours. So treating that like a full-time job, if we break that out into components, it's 40 hours a week. But if you don't have 40 hours a week, that's where the Helix difference comes into play because our course starts a full 20 weeks before the actual bar exam. In fact, for the July bar, we actually open our course for the UBE, Florida, and California this coming Monday. So we give you a full 20 weeks. And again, you don't have to start studying right away, but you certainly can. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share the Inside Helix, a little video, so you don't have to listen to me talk any longer. And then jot any questions in that chat panel and I'll answer them for you. And let me know if this comes through.
I don't hear anything. So when if you stop sharing and share again, make sure you pick share sound.
Okay,
Hey, Anu.
hi, everyone.
Yeah, some people were in and out and had issues as well. So what I'll have them do while you're doing that, Sherry, please put which bar exam you will be taking and an estimated time. Let us know if you've taken the MPRE and how that was for you. And then you can start putting questions in the chat for Sherry. And then after we're done with Sherry's portion, we'll take a break, and then I'll have another portion to talk about the mindset work that we're going to be doing. Okay, Sherry, you want to try again?
Okay, I'm trying here. Let's
Yeah, we'll
see
see your
if
screen.
can you hear it?
No, that's interesting. I see it, but I don't hear it. Yeah, sometimes, you know. Let me see if it's something on my end. Give me one moment. And then, so Sherry, when you shared it in Zoom, you picked the option that says share sound.
Yes,
Huh. And you can hear it playing on your end?
I can hear it perfectly.
Let me see here. If you send me the link, how about I'll try it?
That sounds perfect. Okay. Okay. Okay, let me just go ahead and do that. All right.
Let me view chat. I saw
Okay,
some
I will
folks.
send, yeah, I don't know why that is, but I'll get that to you and I'll get the link and you can look at it. Again, it's just
Oh, you
going through.
okay. You'd rather do that, send have them look at the link later.
I'm unless I can just let me just stop this. Let me just escape out of here and I'll be
No,
able
if you
to
see
look.
where the little share button, just click on that and it'll give you the link on the upper right hand corner of the video. It says share. Yeah, and copy link. There you go. And you can just put that in the chat. Some of the students have shared their information about when they're taking the bar and the MPRE in the chat as well,
Okay.
Sherry, for your
All
reference.
right. This is awesome. Okay, New York this July, took the MPRE in August. That's awesome, Ashley. Florida bar. Awesome. This is great. This is great. All right, so a lot of Florida takers and already taken the MPRE. Awesome. I took the MPRE in August already, scored high enough for all the states. Good for you, Anoop. That's wonderful. Okay, so I've dropped that in the chat button and I'm gonna just allow you, I mean, I don't know if you want to listen to it now or we'll just move on because basically it's just giving you an overview of Helix Bar Review and everything that we have to offer as far as our platform goes. So now I think now is a really good time to open it up for any questions. Um, the main thing that
Yeah.
I can you hear
Can you
me
stop
okay?
sharing, by the way? Yes. I just was gonna say if you're not showing anything on the screen, if you can. There we go.
There
We'd
we
love to see
go.
your beautiful face. And then for
Okay.
editing purposes, I'm gonna share some things. So I just wanted you on the screen and you
Okay.
want to do Q&A now, Sherry? I'd like to say a
Sure,
couple of
sure.
things.
We have some folks that are taking the Florida bar, so I'd like to
Yes.
open it up for study tips and tricks.
Sherry, so I know a couple of students in the program and outside the program who took the MPRE and just didn't get that score high enough. What would you recommend when they're taking it the second time around?
The second time around, I would recommend the first thing that they do is a diagnostic test. On our program, it's free. It's part of your free Helix MPRE prep program. Even if you're studying with other materials, I always suggest taking the second simulated test. It's a 2-hour endeavor because then that's going to break out and you can look at each question by question, how you performed, but also you can do it by categories. And the MPRE tests 12 categories. So in order to score the highest that you need to score, you want to make sure that you're hitting those high testable areas, like the client lawyer relationship. 12 to 18% of the questions are going to be drawn from that area. So I always encourage students know those rules cold and you can focus study to do that. So what I suggest that they do is figure out categorically where they're light, look and review the rules in those areas, and then do practice questions. Our building block questions, make sure that you know the rules, and then your application questions are in the multiple choice questions. So again, it's a way in which to focus study if you weren't successful. And by all means, send me a quick text and I'll walk you through how to do that just as easily, or a quick email. And, we'll schedule up a 10-minute call and I can help you get the score that you need.
Yeah, I've heard great things from students because I always tell them email Sherry or she'll do it or she'll put the Florida person in charge. And they're like, they actually responded and walked me through this thing. I'm like, yes, other bar preps are not doing that.
No,
Okay.
but I mean, I
Um,
don't care what materials you're using. I can show you exactly how to achieve the necessary score that you need just
that's
by working
excellent.
through it.
Yeah, and then you said it's a free NPR review, so I just want students to understand you don't have to pay at all for anything. You just go. Can you put the link in the chat for us for that as
I
well,
sure
Sherry?
will. Sure will.
Because some of you know students who are looking to take the NPRE. Some of our students who aren't on the call are 2Ls and 1Ls, and so they're going to be taking the NPRE soon. So we want to make sure they have that link available. And then I have one more question before the students kind of start this
Okay.
out. All right. So my second question is, I've had some students who struggled with the NPRE, even after multiple takes. What should they be, putting any stock in the fact that they're struggling with the NPRE in terms of what their performance may be for the MBE? And what can they learn from that experience that can help them prepare better for the MBE? Because it's similar kind of questions, but a lot more topics and, longer period of time and 200, like you said, about less than 2 minutes per question you have to answer them.
Okay, my best advice here is to start studying in blocks of time. There's a lot of outside distractions, a lot of unfocused time. So when you're studying for the bar exam, MPRE, MBE, Florida exam, it doesn't matter. When you're studying, you want to start your schedule, set yourself up for success so that you're studying in blocks of time, so that you are able to really focus study and get through the materials. So in order to stay engaged, there's other ways in which to learn the rules. If it's an area where you just are lacking skills, there's lots of various skills workshops. So the skills necessary to write a MEE or a Florida essay exam, you really need to hone in on those skills. Is it reading comprehension? Is that where you're struggling? Are you missing these exam questions by one word? By whether it's discretionary or subject to discipline, subject to disqualification. Those are key terms. If you're missing the key terms and that's why you're not answering the questions correctly, that's an easy fix, a real easy fix, because that's where we can dedicate and focus our study to make sure that we know the terms of art that are being used on the exam. So when somebody has not scored well on the MPRE, that doesn't reflect on how you're going to do on the bar exam, because there are skills in which we can really hone in on and focus on to get you ready and studying for the bar exam. Maybe it's a little additional time in which to get those key terms correct.
Okay, so I don't see any questions from the students. So Ashley, Rashad, Glenna, Anu, Brian, any questions for Sherry? I see Ashley raised her hand. Thank you, Ashley.
Hi, I have a question regarding the scheduling for just the 10 weeks of bar prep, or I'm not sure how many weeks it is. I know you said 20 for Helix, but I know some people do the 9 to 5 and some people do 7 days a week. Do you have any insight on what works best?
If you, again, it's gonna be based on what you need, or as far as, do you have other commitments? Do you have children? Are you working? Are you, trying to finish up schoolwork, things like that, Ashley? What I tell everyone is you need to set yourself up for success. So pick a spot that you're gonna study in all the time and treat it like a full-time job. Set out your schedule every week, what you're going to be able to do in a given week. So I don't suggest that you do 7 days a week, 9 to 5. That's just typical burnout. If you have an opportunity to start earlier, I encourage you to do that, because 10 weeks is not a lot of time. Think about it, about that 400 hours that we talked about. So if you can even start even a couple weeks early and maybe get through one or two of the MBE subjects in those couple of weeks first, that's awesome. We have schedules, because our course opens up 20 weeks early. Not everybody starts 20 weeks because they're finishing up law school. So they may start, at 15 weeks, 16 weeks. And so our program adapts to whenever you start. And we set out what you're going to have to do in a given day, the amount of time that you're going to need to spend. So if you are, doing a 16-week schedule, so it's less than 6 hours a day. A 20-week schedule would be 4 hours a day. And again, that is over a period of 20 weeks. So you're going to have times where you have commitments that you can't study in a given day. Or you want to take, and Sundays are your day that you're going to catch up, rejuvenate, and things like that. You can do that, but you need to plan for it and then be very, very flexible. So if you have a contingency plan, that's what attorneys do. We always have a plan B. So if something gets in the way, stop what you're doing, reevaluate, and go forward. So again, look at all your commitments when you sit down. We have in Ask Edna, which is our education network at Access Lex, askedna.org. I'm going to put that in the chat. We have a schedule, a blank schedule that you can do. And we also have a PDF, or not a PDF, but it's online, that a fillable schedule. So you could make it look how you would like to study. Perhaps you're going to be working part-time and maybe you're going to work until noon every day. You take a lunch break until 1, and then from 1 to 5, that's going to be your study schedule. And then maybe you take a dinner break, and then maybe you go to the gym, and then maybe you come back and you do some reading or some practice questions for a couple of hours. You need to look at what's going to work best for you.
Okay, Anoop raised his hand. That's some great feedback. Personalize the bar prep, and Ashley, we're gonna have a resource for you after. Anoop?
Hey Sherry, thank you for coming on. My question was, I'm currently in my law school. We're doing like MBE. We have a class for MBE questions basically, and my thing is that even if I know the law like cold, I'm still getting these MBE questions wrong, or I get it narrowed down to two options and I picked the wrong one, more so because of the reasoning. I guess, do you have any insight on like how I can improve on that? And it's like when the teacher goes over the question, like the law I know, I still get the question wrong. So I'm just wondering if you have any insight or tips, or if Helix does anything of that sort to kind of help me, pick the right question.
Okay, what I will say, Anu, is that it sounds to me, if you know the law, then you're thinking too deep. You have to be confident, choose the correct answer based on what you know, and then move on. Don't dwell on it, because if you start thinking, you're second guessing yourself. And I don't know if you change your answer or if you just spend too much time. Do you oscillate on that? Again, it's going to be with practicing those questions that you're going to really improve, and you're going to see a pattern. If you have one of the MBE courses that Professor Hartrick has talked about, our MBE questions are top notch. So, and there's some practice questions in there. And if you're doing them, just tell me, and then I'll look at how your performance is, and then I'll maybe reach out to you. Do you have
Yeah,
our
that's a good
course?
point. Yeah, Anoop, did you take one of the Helix MBE courses?
I don't think I have
Might be.
yet.
What are you waiting for? I sent that email last term.
Yeah, I know. I need to do it still.
You haven't, but you have the code, but you haven't just
Yeah,
activated
I
it,
have
is
the
what you're
code.
saying.
Yeah, I have
Oh,
the
yeah,
code.
yeah, yeah. That's what
Yeah.
I mean. Okay, so you have
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So like she said, it
Okay,
opens
yeah,
one
go
day.
ahead and log on,
Yeah.
and just download it and start doing. What I would tell you to do, do the diagnostic right off the bat. It's 100 questions. Sit there and do them, and then Professor Hardrick and I on the back end can look, and then I can look and see, what you're choosing, and I can kind of evaluate and give you a little coach. If you'd like that, just, shoot me an email and let me know that, you've
Yeah, I would
already
love
done
that.
the questions, and then I can go in and look. Sound good?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And then if you can put your email, Sherry, in the chat, sort of for the transcript, but I'll also share it in the follow-up email. And Anoop, and for everyone else, I've done that for other students. I had one student who was a Journey to Esquire alum, and she had a lot going on. So that's, if no one, other students have a question, I'm gonna incorporate that. But she had twins right before graduation in law school. and single mom and didn't have family here. And so she was on her own and she passed to Florida and didn't pass the MBE. I'm like, first of all, well, congratulations. That's a huge feat, right? With everything she had going on. So I gave her Helix for the retake of the MBE. And she still felt like she was struggling. And I did what Sherry is saying. I sat with her and we went through several questions to catch a pattern. So I caught the pattern for her and she passed the second time. And she said that made all the difference. And so that's what we mean by the personalization. Because everyone says that I'm down to two. There aren't two correct answers. So you're not down to two. You're down to the right answer and something you think is the right answer. And like Sherry said, the confidence helps. So don't oscillate, don't, change your answers. But then we have Helix is really good at helping you find patterns. Like, oh, every time they test this specific issue, you get it wrong. So you might you might know the black letter law, but misunderstand application.
Right.
And now we fix that. So I had another student in evidence for his MBE. He took both, passed the Florida, failed the MBE. So I did a review. I said, just pick 10 questions that he used Adaptive Bar because I have access to that. And he just misunderstood evidence. He knew the law and could tell you it, but he misunderstood that the point of evidence is you're in a trial trying to admit it and use it for a specific purpose. Once I got him to understand that, he went from the 5th percentile in evidence to the 95 percentile in evidence on his MBE. Did you hear me? That's a 90% jump because I was able to help him understand the pattern he was getting wrong. So he did know it. He was right, but he misunderstood how to apply it. And so that's what I need you all to understand. This is not about intelligence. This is about understanding how to take the test and what they want you to do. Helix, the MBE especially, will help you do that. They do have the Florida portion as well. So I know a lot of you said you already had something from your school or things like that. And that's fine, but just make sure whatever you're learning here, you're using with your specific bar prep. Did another student have a question before I ask a couple of other ones that I have come up in my bar coaching? Glenna, Rashad, any questions? No? Brian, any questions? No? Okay. So Sherry, one issue I had is I was, singing the praises of Helix, and this graduate said, "Oh, I'm gonna buy it and use it," but he already had Kaplan and Barbary, and I'm like, "You can't use too many. That's not
No.
gonna help you. That's too many." So how if students are getting one like Cooley now it's like prepaid through tuition for Barbary, some of the more reps for Kaplan and things like that. How many bar preps do you recommend that they use? And what are the advantages of maybe using more than one? And how many is too many?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you that a supplemental bar review course, the comprehensive course, one is enough. What you have given to your students and your scholars is the supplemental MBE supplement. So when you mentioned Adaptive Bar, that is a supplement. It's not a full comprehensive course. So if a student is studying for the bar, they need a full comprehensive course. So the MBE subjects that we go through in our MBE supplement, it is a cursory overview. It's not the in-depth overview and studying the law. It is actually practicing. It's about compared to like our substantive course where there's 350 videos, short videos, 5 to 7 minutes long. In the MBE supplement, there's about 50 videos and about 1,850 questions broken out by the subject matters and then mixed questions. So what I will say is this, I suggest that students do their full substantive bar review. And when it comes to practicing their MBE questions, don't try to do both. What I suggest is do a combination, maybe do some, adaptive bar questions, some if they have our Helix MBE supplement, but more is not always better, I guess is the biggest thing. It's quality over quantity. So if you're assigned to do 50 questions, that's an hour and a half of your time in just taking the test. I would rather, instead of you trying to do 100 questions, do those 50 questions, then review the explanatory answers for two reasons. One, you're going to gain a lot more law in that area and how it's applied when you're reviewing those answers, because you're reviewing the ones that you got correct, to be sure you got them correct for the correct reason, but you're also reviewing the ones you got wrong. And if you got them wrong, why did you get them wrong? Are you in a situation where you know the law, but you're just not applying it right? Like, for instance, in evidence, do you know those rules? Do you know the exclusionary rules? Do you know those admissions rules or those objections, but you're just not applying it right? That's where you're going to learn, by reviewing the explanatory answers to those multiple choice questions. So quantity is not always the best. Quality is by far much more. I would rather you take 25 of each section's questions. Then if you determine that you're really learning better from one set than the other, then focus on that and only supplement when you need additional questions in a particular area.
Yeah, that's a good tip because that other person tried to do everything. Like, you can't do
No,
everything.
no, you will
Sometimes,
burn
like,
out
for
before it's time.
right, preventing the burnout is very important. That's why I was doing the
Absolutely.
coaching, because students were burning out. Um, and just be mindful too, if you have the passing guarantee with the specific bar prep, you must do the minimum they require. So make sure you do that minimum. But once you meet that minimum, like Sherry said, if you prefer the adaptive bar, if you prefer the Helix, then focus on that near the end. So the Helix supplement is really good for, man, I'm really struggling with this one subject area. Let me just go into the Helix and do that one subject, watch their little videos and see what I'm missing. It's also really good for at the end where you feel like, okay, I just want to do timed practice. You can just go in and do a bunch of sets of 50, 100, so that you can time yourself to make sure you're using the correct amount of time. And
And
then
what's
there's
nice, I'm
also,
going to interject, Jocelyn, is that in the Helix platform, it will time you per question and it will time you the time it took to take that entire set of questions. So that for timing purposes, that's a good way to set aside and get yourself really geared up on the timing side of it.
yeah, and that's a good transition to my last question. So I've been working with a lot of students who have accommodations and they've had some
Mhm.
extra time. It used to be really hard to get, but I guess now students have realized what it is. They're able to get the additional time. So maybe extra
Right.
30 minutes or an hour. So what does that mean so it's a two-part question. If you have the approval for the additional time, how should that impact how you study in terms of timing yourself, especially when you get closer to the end and you're just doing big sets of questions? And number two, if you got accommodations in law school, but they denied it to you on the bar exam, what adjustments should you make in that instance?
Okay, I'm going to take the first one first. When you're studying in those blocks of time, remember, I want you to start studying in blocks of time right off the bat. If you're getting additional time, you're going to want to get put your phone timer. I want you to put the phone away, but put a timer by you so you can start feeling, what does it mean for me to have 90 minutes to complete this as opposed to 1 hour? What does it mean? What does 90 minutes in doing multiple choice questions look like and feel like to me? Because you're going to get fatigued. And you want to know, when does that fatigue kick in? Because that's when our confidence starts through. But you know what? If you're practicing in those blocks of time, you're going to know. And when that fatigue starts kicking in, woo, you're going to push through because you know what's on the other side. It's smooth sailing down, right? You're not going to lose your confidence because you've practiced in those time constraints. That's number one. Same with the essays. If you have a 1 hour essay on the Florida exam and you're being given 90 minutes instead of 60, practice your essays using 90-minute block of time. And 90 minutes, 90 minutes, 90 minutes. You will condition yourself because remember, this is training. You're training psychologically, emotionally, physically. You're training for performance on the bar exam. So by doing this, you're going to get that endurance up. You're going to get, what does 90 minutes feel like to you? All the way around. And then the second question was, as it relates to not getting an accommodation. That's a little tougher, but it's absolutely doable because now you're going to have to build your confidence by getting it right within the time constraints and being able to accept that if you get a 5-minute warning, You're going to go ahead and answer the rest of the multiple choice questions because you want to guess. Get a letter in your mind. A for Access Lex. I don't care what it is. I put a letter in my mind because timing was crucial for me. When I sat for the bar exam, when I did a practice exam, the first 100, I didn't get through 19 questions. I panicked at the lunch hour, just panicked. And someone said, stop. First of all, you're being distracted by the noise. So get some earplugs, number one. And number two, when you know you have 5 minutes, just answer them. Pick the letter and know, and be confident that you've given enough on the previous ones that you are going to be just fine. Remember, you don't need an A on the bar exam. You don't need an A. You just need enough points. So when you have short of time, answer the remaining questions. Don't leave anything unanswered. Let me shift just a minute on the written portion. This is where it's vitally important that you are actually sitting and writing these essays. So writing these essays, doing these multiple choice questions, but these essays, it's so important because this is where you're going to get that, athlete redundancy, that feel for what does 60 minutes feel like to you? What does 90 minutes feel like to you? Because then you'll know. Because when you're given all 3 essays, or if you're taking the UBE given all 6 essays at one time, you can't spend 90 minutes on the first one and not have any time on the last one, or spend whatever the time allocation is. You need to stop at that 60-minute mark and move on, move on, move on. You cannot dawdle, but you got to be confident to do that. And your confidence gain comes from practice, practice, practice.
Yes, I have a student who just took, a former student took the July, and she said, I know where I messed up. I spent 2 hours on the first essay on the Florida bar. I'm like, well, so the question isn't memorization or application. The question is practicing that timing. You know you weren't supposed to do it. So how did you end up doing it anyway? Because you haven't
Right.
practiced, so you can know what 60 minutes feels like. And I always tell students an essay a day keeps failure away, but they don't do it because they're like, I don't want to do an essay a day. I'll just skip that and do more questions.
You know what's
You
really
gotta
funny is
practice
there's
it.
a lot of
Yeah.
points to be gained on essay
Yes.
day.
So
You have a
many.
lot of opportunity on essay day. You can
Yes.
bang it out of the park on essay day. You can
Yes.
bang
And
it
it
out
can
of the
carry
park.
you because in Florida they
Absolutely.
average it with the multiple choice, and
Yes.
then they average that score with the MBE, and that can carry you all the way if you score high enough.
Right.
Yeah, so don't ignore it. So I don't see any more questions in the chat. And Sherry, we appreciate your time. Don't want to hold you up. We're going to take a break and everything, so that students, can have a moment to have questions for me. Any last words before we wrap up?
Yes. If anyone is interested, I have let me see here. I have a scholarship code for $100 off any Helix course, comprehensive course, if you're interested, that if you're taking the July bar and haven't made your decision yet. And this code is going to be good until, let me see here. It is good until, I'm going to put it in the chat and I can send it to Professor Hardrick too, but it is good until March 17th. And these are scholarship dollars that are coming over from Access Lex. If you're not familiar with our scholarship data bank or scholarship, we give a lot of money away. We are a nonprofit. We give, give, give. In fact, April 1st, anybody that does their max lessons, which is about 2 hours max by Access Lex, there's a big drawing for two $25,000 and two $40,000 scholarships on April 1st. And if there's one else that do our max lessons, which are the financial wellness lessons, they're about 2 hours worth of work and it's all beneficial, then those students are in a $50,000 scholarship entry. So let me find this scholarship. Let me just see here. Let me get to where okay, let me put this code in here. If you cannot, if you're interested in Helix, after you look at it, have questions, let me know. If you don't purchase for the July bar by the 17th, then contact me. And if there's additional scholarship dollars that I have a code for, it's like a discount code that you put right in the voucher when you check out of Helix. Helix is nonprofit. It is at cost. It doesn't change. You don't have to purchase early, only when you're ready to start. But if you want to take advantage of these scholarship dollars, this is what that's for. Let me just double check that number real quick. 622-91307. There you have it, folks. There's a scholarship voucher code right there for you. And that would
Okay.
go towards any comprehensive Florida, UBE, or California course for the July takers.
Yes,
And
so
again,
that
that's
is
your
one.
full bar review. Right.
Yes, 100 scholarship, 622-91307. Is that only
Yeah.
for during the SY, or anybody can use that scholarship code?
Anyone can use that through March
Okay.
17th.
Through March 17th. So we'll
And if
post that
you
on our.
need one after that, let me know. I don't know whether I'll get one or not. Plus, in addition, Helix is offering what it's called the pass bonus. After you take a Helix course, whether you're a retaker or not, if you take a full comprehensive course and use us and you pass the bar exam in July, we'll send you a $200 gift card to go have dinner and celebrate.
Yeah, that's
That brings
nice.
the course price down to $899 with this code.
Yeah, they didn't have none of this stuff when I was in law school. I paid $3,000 for Barbary, and they're like, "Here's some books. Good luck."
So in
Seriously, I
addition,
know.
yeah, just so you know, everybody, in addition to me, I've been working in the bar review industry for 30 years, but I have a lot of colleagues that are much younger, more recent out, and you have access to all of us. All of us. There's no additional charge, not like some of the commercial companies out there that are going to charge you $350 to talk to an attorney. We charge zero for coaching calls, zero. You schedule them as you need them and as often as you need them, because our goal is to get you through the bar exam. We don't want to take your money for anything.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Sherry.
All
Thank you
right.
for
Thank
joining
you all.
us.
Enjoy
Yeah,
your
we'll be in
weekend.
touch. Yeah, and then Sherry was at the fundraiser. I don't think she's going to make it to the graduation, but she'll be there in spirit. And she's a big
Yes, for
supporter
sure.
of Journey to Esquire. Please, please, please email her. She is one of those people who actually responds, and she means it when she says email her anytime. I've sent all kinds of students her way, and they're like, "Oh, it's great talking to Sherry." And even if they didn't buy anything or she was just
Correct.
open. And the rest of the team that I've met, outstanding folks. So thank you so much, Sherry.
Thank you. Take good care. Bye,
Okay,
everyone.
bye-bye. So we are going to take a 10-minute break now because, we got to get those breaks from the screen time. When we come back, though, we'll be talking about Bar Exam Best Mode, which is my book and journal and system for your mindset for the bar exam. I'm going to talk a little bit about mindset, see if you all have any questions, and then we'll wrap up early. I'm going on a cruise tomorrow, so I have to pack and do some things, but I'll see you guys in 10 minutes, okay? All right, so welcome back, everyone. We're still recording for the other folks who couldn't. Oh, I saw Brian said sent my email. Good. Stay on top of it, Brian. That's how we do. So, Rashad, do you mind if I put you on the spot a little bit?
No, I don't.
Mr. Perry Patterson, you coming out of that bar exam. Why? DC bar. So tell us about your experience and what you can share for with the students who are looking forward to it.
Well, first off, everything Miss Sherry was saying, Attorney Dexter is correct. Um, two things that I learned, well, two things that I feel like the bar exam is about. It's about you have to know a good amount of rules. You do. But a lot of it is about reading comprehension. Um, but with that, you have to learn how to intertwine the both under time conditions. So doing a lot of practice under time conditions and treating it like stamina, building up your stamina for the exam is very important. I can go into detail about like what I did and all of that, but just to answer her question, the bar exam is what it is advertised as, but it's doable. Um, it's doable. Um, it's like the longest, shortest 10 to 12 hours of your life, truthfully.
That's a good
So
way to put it. The longest, shortest 12 hours of your life.
yeah.
And the DC bar exam, so you do have the MBE. It's 100 questions in the morning, 100 in the afternoon. What's the other day of DC bar looks like?
Okay, so yeah, so to the point of the UBE. So for us, we had essays. We had to do our MPTs in the morning. So we did our two MPTs the first 3 hours, 90 minutes each is what you're supposed to allocate. Then the second half of the day, we had 6 essays. Some jurisdictions have 4, some have 3, but we had 6. And like majority of them had 3 to 4 calls of the questions, and you have to get through all of those in 30 minutes. Essentially, for our 6 essays, you were to allot 30 minutes per essay.
How did it feel? Did that time like fly by? You blinked and it was over, or did it feel like it was long?
Um, it was a little bit of both because like they did a good job. They had TV screens where they had the time going down, and I had done a lot of essays on the time conditions, but those 30 minutes didn't feel the same. So it's even when you are in it and you're not even about test anxiety, just even when you're in it, it just doesn't feel the same because it's the bar exam. But the practicing helps because you're not panicking when you do see the time go down. If you are behind, but the goal is not to be, but if you are behind, that practice helps. Like I can't stress how much it's dreadful, it's long, it's mundane, but building up your stamina is so important for that exam for numerous reasons, which I know she's going to get into with her best mode. I just want you all to know that I had all 3 during the bar exam. Especially, I'm just going to say this now, pairing the journal with the maximize your mindset part was important. Your stamina is so important because those 12 hours, like I said, are the longest but the shortest time of your life. And you have to stay focused, make sure you don't allow other things to get into your mind. Make sure you don't allow other students to distract you. And you won't simulate the exact day of the exam, but like what you're eating and I don't go too far, but essentially, yes, all of that matters. So your stamina goes into more than just getting through it. Getting through it is a privilege within itself, but it's a lot that ties into it. Because you'll realize like when you get there, you're taking the exam, yeah, now it's hitting you that this all isn't just about intelligence.
That's a very good point. Thank you, Rashad. So, like Sherry said, like it's noisy because there's so many people there typing at the same time, and it sounds like most bar exams start with the essay, and how you start is usually how you finish. So if you start panicking and nervous and running out of time, then that's how the whole exam can go. Not automatically. In the best mode, I talk about how to shift, but you want to start strong so you can finish strong. A student who I just coached kind of, she was taking it for the 7th or 8th time. And she said, man, everyone said, come talk to you, professor. I said, I'm not coaching one-on-one anymore, but I can do like some laser coaching. And I did some laser coaching. And then afterwards I said, hey, how did it go? And she said, man, I got distracted again. Somebody was just making all this noise, and I tried to ask them to settle down, or I tried to be moved, and no one would move. And I just said, you know what, I'm just going to do the best that I can. Then someone who was one of the proctors, the head of the proctors, saw what was happening and moved her because she stayed focused and was able to get through the exam. But there's all this noise. There were 3,000 people there when I was taking it. Imagine 3,000 people all typing at the same time. It's like it is a lot of noise, so you might have to wear earplugs to get through it. I had another student tell me, man, I got there, I was in line waiting to check in, and these two people were talking and said something to me, and it threw off her whole game. Downhill from there. After all that studying, after knowing all the material. So Sherry was here to talk to you about, okay, the mechanics of the bar exam. Now you know the mechanics. Now you know, even though your school is helping you, there's still some extra steps you have to do to personalize it to you. Now you know, don't do too much or too little, because we're getting people now are starting to do too much and burning out, or they're doing too little and don't have the stamina that Rashad was referring to. My book is about mindset. So I'm gonna share my screen real quick. You're gonna get a free copy of this at the graduation, and other students who aren't able to make it, I'll mail it. And of course, it's complimentary through the program. So it's called Bar Exam Best Mode, Maximize Your Mindset to Beat the Par for First Time and Repeat Takers. Okay, bar prep without burnout. Okay, so here you can go to barexambestmode.com. It'll take you to this page. Here are some testimonials of people I've coached. Okay, so other people, yes, they will get charged for it. You're getting it for free through Journey to Esquire. Okay, some laser coaching services. I have the book, paperback, ebook, and audiobook now. The audiobook just got finished. So if you're the type of person like me, you like to be read to, I have the great Rachel Davies. She has a beautiful voice. She can read the book to you, but it's a very quick read. The journal is really important because, like Sherry said, put that phone away. You might think, oh, I just need it for the timer, I just need it for this, but it starts buzzing, and then you're looking for one thing and all these alerts, and then, unless you're really disciplined and put it on do not disturb. And for those of you who have kids and people relying on you who may have emergencies, you make an exception for those people only. But you got to stay focused. It's so easy to get distracted because, like Rashad said, this is boring, mundane, and repetitive. So your brain wants to do something else. So you have to train it to stay focused. And putting the phone away is a great way to do that because we're so addicted to our phones. I am too. I'm working on it. So the journal is a paper journal, and it literally has a daily pages you can use. They're not specific dates, so it's, you can use it at any time. It's called Evergreen. You can circle the date, the month, and the day of the week so that you can keep track of when you're putting these notes, and then put in, what am I doing today? And you're like, doesn't the bar exam comprehensive program already tell me what to do? It does, but the list is this long and students get overwhelmed. And then on top of that long list that bar exams prep says you have to do, you have your personal to-do list. And so this is some place to put it all in one place on a piece of paper. You say, how am I going to get this done today? And if you have to prioritize and skip certain parts, you can put it in that journal so you know exactly what you need to do. What if you wake up and you're sick? You can't do 8 hours of study. Maybe you can get 4 hours in because you have to go to the doctor or family, you have to travel, or all this stuff is going to happen. Life is going to keep lifing during part prep. And the point is to be strategic about how you approach it. So this journal really helps you because it's a planner, a calendar, and a journal. It allows you to reflect on how your studying is going. It has motivational quotes to keep you going. A lot of students don't reflect on how it's going. They're just going through the motion, checking the boxes. And then I talk to them like, okay, well, what did you learn so far? And they can't tell me because they're just going through the motions. Part of learning and preparing is reflecting. Brian told me when he used to play football, he'd sit down after games and watch the tape. So not just being in the moment, you got to watch what you were doing, see where you're making mistakes. Right, Brian? So
yeah, you just reminded me of a lot of yeah.
yeah.
The moment the game is done, we had it on the iPad. I'm sitting there for about 2.5 hours. I got to see every single play. then I got to rewatch it and watch everybody on defense to see what they did and how they. Yeah, it gets crazy.
But that's what it's like. Because what you have to see is the bar exam is a performance test. They want to see how you perform under pressure. So a lot of people tell me, I know all the rules, professor. I don't know why I'm doing well. Brian, if someone came to you and said, I know all the rules of football, I'm ready to go for the NFL, what you gonna say?
Nah. Bro,
Exactly.
you're gonna get concussed. That's what I'm gonna say. I'm like, bro, you're gonna get concussed. I don't care what rules you know. You still gotta have a savvy way to play, man, because it's life or death out there. Somebody can take your life out there, really fold you like a pretzel.
Right. And then for us, it's a figurative life and death of your law career. You cannot be an attorney if you don't pass the bar and get admitted to a jurisdiction. You can be a lawyer, right? That means you have a JD, but you can't be an attorney. You cannot be an esquire. That's why this program is called Journey to Esquire. We want barred, licensed, admitted lawyers because there's so much power in that. And so, those of you who might have performed, you might sing, you might dance, you might have just done all kinds of things. The people who know the rules ain't the one who's going to do well. The person who shows up and performs is the one who's going to do well. And so that's why the mindset matters. Sherry talked about having a physical space. I talk about that in the book, dedicated to bar prep, so that when you're done for the day, you left off a certain place, your journal's there, you know what you're going to do tomorrow, everything is where you need to be, and you go there every day, and it creates this muscle memory, right? I talk about talking to your family because they need a conversation about what's going to go down. They're like, isn't law school over? Why? A lot of people got that from their family and they're not going to understand, but I guide you on how to have a conversation with them, especially if you're living with them, if you have a spouse, significant other, kids. I've coached people with several kids. I've coached people who are repeat takers. I've coached people who are older students. So I have heard every excuse in the book. Okay. Excuses are reasons for you to not do well that you point to for why you didn't perform. We all have real reasons why getting this bar prep done may get in our way. They only become excuses when we point to them and say, well, that's why I failed. No, you failed because you didn't perform up to the standard needed to pass. Now, how do we get you there? Okay. The journal helps with that. And then you will have access to have some affirmations. If you're like me into affirmations, I put a sign everywhere in my house. I had one in my mirror, and it was nothing fancy, regular old index card that said, I am passing the July 2009 bar. It has to be in present tense, and it has to start with I am, right? I am a lawyer practicing law. I passed the bar. I am passing the bar July 2009 bar exam. And I was very specific because if it says I am passing the bar exam, well, it might not have been July 2009 when I took it, right? So I was specific. I had it on my mirror in the morning. I had it on the door of my garage leading to my car. I had it on my steering wheel because there were days where I was tired and I was lacking confidence. I didn't want to look at it. So I want to make sure I didn't have a choice. And if I missed the first two, I was going to get that third one. Okay. I tell students to do that, and no one ever does it. They're like, oh, I'll put a little wallpaper on my phone. I said, that's not where I want it. I want it somewhere you look at every day on your fridge. Force yourself to look at that every single day. Mindset. Okay. Like Sherry said, you don't need an A on the bar exam, but I got an A on the bar exam, right? Because I went all in. I wanted to leave nothing on the table. That's why I was invited to be a bar exam grader and was able to participate and write multiple choice questions, pre-test essay questions, and grade actual essay questions, 700 of them. I talk about that in the book. And that is not for me to brag. I use that experience to help you guys. Because again, this doesn't test your intelligence and it does not test your ability to be a great lawyer. But it is a barrier. I wrote a whole article called "The Bar Exam is a Barrier to legal access for people," but it still exists, so we got to get through it. I also have meditations, 2 10-minute meditations. Those are great for when you're starting to feel like I don't know if I'm going to make it. By the way, we all felt that way. I didn't talk to too many people who went through the bar exam and just felt good the whole time. Most of us felt like at some point, man, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. And then we all made it. So and then I also talk about, not being afraid of failure. The fear of failure is messing a lot of people up. You're so afraid to fail that you won't perform. It freezes you up. So I had um, Brittany Lainez, Argentina. No, Brittany Argentina Lainez, class of 2009, the first class of during the Esquire, just passed the bar exam in the February bar exam. 5 years it took her. And her biggest issue was her fear of failure. So she kept failing because she wouldn't really show up. And then when she finally got past that, she passed. Okay? We want you to learn the lessons from these individuals so it doesn't take you 5 times. And I've put all the best stuff that I know in these books. So you're going to get that. And feel free to get, one of them earlier, get the ebook. I think it's like $1.99 if you want to just start taking a look at it. Feel free to open up the Helix, make sure you actually register, open it up, just take a look, browse around. Again, this is not about panic or being scared. This is about confidence, and you can build that through exposure to the thing that scares you. Okay. Reflect too on how did you do in law school? What worked for you and what didn't? This is not the time to try something new. Some people are like, well, I did this thing during law school. I studied overnight, but now I'm just going to wake up 5 a.m. No, you're not. I had a student who I was coaching, and during the Esquire, she sent me her schedule. Like Sherry said, I have everyone write out a schedule. What are you going to do every day from here to the bar exam? She had go to the gym for 2 hours every morning. I said, girl, no, you're not. Like, how often do you go to the gym now? I don't. All of a sudden you go in the gym for 2 hours? No, you're not, sis. Okay, so let's have a goal of maybe going to the gym twice a week. Wednesday, hump day, Saturday. And then she actually did that. She said, oh, it did help. Yeah. Because what happens is if you set up those kinds of goals that you know you won't meet, then you start bar prep feeling like a failure. We don't want that. You want to feel like a winner the whole time. So, realistic goals, ease into it. Like Sherry said, if you start now in the 20 weeks, you only need 4 hours a day. But if you're doing 10 weeks, guess what? That becomes 8 to 10 hours a day. And that's why people burn out. So if you can start early, do so. If you're taking those bar prep courses and you feel like it's too much, then again, pace yourself. These bar prep courses for the law schools are new. A lot of them just doing it out of desperation, honestly, because those bar passage scores are like, the ABA is treating them like, a much higher importance than they used to in the past. And so they're kind of scrambling and throwing these things together. They're not always useful for you personally. And then now you have a grade with it, and then so you might get nervous. Just be mindful of that. And if you feel overwhelmed, call me, holla at your girl. And you're like, Professor, I don't know where to start. And I could just walk you through it. And again, it's very individualized. Beware of people just giving you these general information. Here's a couple of stories that elucidate that point. I had a student, not in the program, just a student at Cooley, who came to me and said, I want to ask you about the bar exam because I talked to this guy and he said, you ain't got to do all that stuff the school's telling you to do. Like, I just barely studied and then passed. So, like, what do you think about that? So I asked her about her situation. I'm like, you work full time, right? She's like, yeah. You've gone to law school part time the whole time? Yes. You have children? Yes. They're school age? Yes. So you have to drive them around with it? Yes. That individual who told you that, are they in the same situation as you? She's like, no. Right. Single person, not married, no kids, no job. Do you think you following his plan is going to work for you? There's other people who like to brag about they barely study, they did this and that and the other, and they're not telling you all the facts. Because I hear those people, and then someone else
Hey,
will tell me, that person.
Professor.
Yeah.
No lie. I'm laughing. I was just laughing with my daughter. She's going to her game, but that's a true story.
Okay.
I just went to this event yesterday, and there was a couple people in there who took the bar, and that's what they were saying. Like, bro, I barely studied for it. It was easy, man. Like, I walked in there and I'm looking at the dude. I'm not gonna say who he is because Rashad knows who he is. Now you know who he is, but he's like, yeah, bro. I treated it like class, bro. I barely studied, but like 2 weeks before the end of class. So that's kind of like what I did. I just knocked out half of the prep. I went in there, finished all the essays. It was easy. I was like, dude, there's no way. There's no way. But he darn sure was walking around like he did. When the results come out, Rashad, hey, bro. Hey, I know you did your thing, but I'm going to tell you who it is.
Brian, you are so funny. Um, and then those people will, what I was about to say is some of those people are leaving out that they got accommodations. They had double time. I don't know anyone who had them who's transparent about that. So if they had double time that you're gonna have, how are they bragging about it? Like if you're gonna brag about it, then tell me all the facts. And I'm not throwing shade on those individuals. What I'm doing is alerting you. When you hear that, it's noise. They are not being completely transparent with you. Some people, for example, they say I only did 30% of the prep. What they did was skip the videos. They did like 100% of the questions though. So they still put in a lot of work, even though it's called 30%. There's just people that I don't know why humans do it. It's like Cat Williams say, why do liars lie? Because they liars. You know, I don't know. That was a good little interview. He threw a lot of shade, but in between all the shade, there's some knowledge in there. He's a really smart guy. I don't know why people do that. Like I don't play that game. I tell you everything I did and I tell you what I did may not work for you because I was single. I had no kid. I mean, I was married. I was newly married, had no kids, and I wasn't working. So I could spend 8 to 10 hours a day studying for the bar. But you can't do that if you got other things going on. Some of you, and I had a job lined up. Some of you are still looking for jobs. You're traveling, you're finding apartments, you're moving from one place. So personalize the bar prep. You can pass this exam if you figure out what's going to work for you. And if you're in the middle of this thing and nothing's working, it's okay to pause and then again call me, call Sherry, call someone you trust. Not your mama and them, auntie them, your classmate, your parents that went to law school 20 years ago. Those people don't know what's going on right now. They don't. And their memory of it is so different. It's like talking to someone like my mom, you know, she'll see my daughter who's about to be 2 next month just acting a fool. But she's a toddler. That's how toddlers act. And my mom's like, why is she acting like that? I'm like, did you forget what toddlers are like? I'm like, we did. She had 4 of them. But the memory is so different when you, you know, in hindsight. So be mindful of who you're taking advice from and who you're listening to. There's a lot of noise out there. So you're in this program. You have me, and we have other resources. I can connect you with other people to kind of coach you and help you along. Be mindful of that. Any questions before we wrap up? No, we good. We're good. Okay. Everybody's going to make it on March 30th. Is there anyone who's not able to make it there? Okay. Don't see anything in the chat. Good. So that's by Zoom. And then April 20th, Ashley, you're gonna be able to fly out for that, right? You have the stuff, arrangements and everything?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Good, good. So we're looking forward to that. And remember, if you need anything, email me. If you send it to the main one, I have trouble, like I'm just too many emails. I'm like drowning. So send it to my hardrickj@cooley.edu email. If for whatever reason I'm not getting back to you, forward the email to me there. Or send me a text. You all have my number, 727-519-5501. That's my personal cell. If it's something that's urgent or I'm not responding to you, it's not on purpose. It's probably an oversight. And I hope you've had a great experience in the program. You know, it's been, I feel like I wish I could get to know you guys more. I was trying to make it to Orlando, never made it. But we'll try again next year. And then, you know, make sure you reach out to your mentors for this term just to check in. They may have a great bar exam story to share with you and, you know, to encourage you. And then we're recruiting for the next class, the class of 2025. So please help spread the word. We're posting a lot more on social media, like, share, subscribe, repost, tag, all that good stuff. We're very active on LinkedIn and Facebook. On Instagram, you can just like the stuff. And you can go to the website, click directly on the symbol for that social media page, and then just like everything. You don't have to like get lost in social media. Just go to our page and like everything. Okay, real easy. That stuff makes a difference because that's where the young people are at. That's where you're at right now. You know, can't get your attention any other way. We throw out money out, dangle money out there, and we can barely get y'all attention. So, um, you know, we appreciate any effort you can do to help spread the word so that we can reach more students and, you know, help more people along their journeys. Okay. All right, y'all. I guess we'll wrap up. I'll stick around in case anyone has any questions. But you guys are dismissed. See you next time.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome, Glenna. You're welcome, Ashley.
Thank you. Have a good cruise.
Thank you, Anoop. Rashad, are you going to stick around?
Yeah, I'll go stick around.